Initialisms, acronyms, and abbreviations. A lot of people use these terms interchangeably or sometimes confuse them, but they each have their own unique rules. So let's take a look at each of them so that you can use them properly in your own writing. To this end, we're going to cover three things. First, we're going to define each of these terms. Then we're going to look at applications and examples. Let's begin by defining initialisms. Initializing refers to the process of abbreviating a multi-word term or name to the first initials of the key words. In this case, the letters are each pronounced individually. Examples: we have the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now in this case, we're going to initialize that to FBI, and we say each letter FBI individually. We don't say Phoebe. Likewise, we have the United States of America. So we would initialize that as USA, as any wrestling fan would know. So we pronounce them individually, U-S, then A, not USA all at once. Now, let's take a look at acronyms. Acronyms are abbreviations of multi-word terms or names, like initialisms, that combine the first initials or elements of the key words. In this case, the letters are read collectively as a word, not individually. Let's take a look at an example. The Modern Museum of Art. Look at all these beautiful pieces of art. We got Van Gogh, Dali, etc. Okay, so here we're going to abbreviate this to MoMA. We take the first elements or letters of the key words and we spell out a word and say it all at once, MoMA. We do not mention the initials individually, M-O-M-A. How about the National Aeronautics and Space Administration? We initialize that to NASA, and we say it all at once as though it's a word, NASA, not the initials, N-A-S-A. Now, abbreviations are shortened forms of words, terms, or names that combine the first initials or elements of those keywords. They are unique in that they are often used for single words and feature periods, but that's not universally the case. Let's take a look at example. The months, sometimes months such as January and February, are abbreviated to Jan and Feb. The days of the week, such as Monday and Tuesday, can be abbreviated respectively to Mon and Tu. Also, we got terms like et alia, which comes from Latin, roughly translates to and others and is often abbreviated to et al. We have the full word et, and alia is abbreviated with a period. Etc. roughly translates to and other similar things, and it is often abbreviated to etc. Applications. Before using an initialism or acronym, you must use the full form of the term and then introduce the abbreviated form in parentheses. Let's take a look at an example. Nick Fury is the leader of an organization known as the Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division, parentheses, SHIELD, close parentheses, period. Further note on applications. Initialisms and acronyms are presented differently. Specifically, initialisms are introduced with a definite article where one appears in the long form of the term being abbreviated. In contrast, acronyms are treated like a proper name and thus do not have an article before them. But let's take a look at an example of each to see how this plays out in practice. Let's start with an initialism. The FBI launched an investigation. You'll see here we have the definite article the in front of the initialism FBI. And that's because when we say the long form, there is an article the in front of the FBI. Now, in contrast, let's take a look at an acronym. Here, we might say NASA launched a rocket. Now, normally, when you say the full form of NASA, we put a "the" in front of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. However, because NASA is an acronym treated like a proper name, we do not have a definite article "the" in front of it. Let's consider applications for abbreviations. Now, abbreviations are typically seen as informal. Therefore, it's a good idea to avoid abbreviations such as IE, EG, and etc. in academic writing contexts as well as other formal writing contexts. Free bonus note: beware of RIS syndrome. Now, you're probably wondering right now, what is RIS syndrome? Well, RIS stands for Redundant Initial Syndrome. Also known as RAS, Redundant Acronym Syndrome, this occurs when you repeat a word that is already represented in the initialism or acronym that you're using. The most common examples of this include PIN number. PIN stands for Personal Identification Number, so the word number appearing afterwards is redundant. Same with social insurance number, SIN number, and also HIV virus. The V in HIV stands for a virus. And of course, the ironic example is the RIS syndrome itself, because the S in RIS stands for syndrome. Let's do a quick summary of our key points. Initialisms. They are abbreviations using the initial letters of each word in a long-form term. The letters are pronounced individually: NSA, FBI, CIA, and the definite article "the" is used where one is used in the long form of the word, term, or name being abbreviated. Acronyms. Abbreviations using the initial letters or elements of each word of a long-form term. The letters are pronounced collectively as a word, like MoMA and NASA, and there are no articles used to introduce acronyms. Abbreviations. Abbreviations use the initial letters or elements of each word. Periods are used to close out these elements, but again, they're considered a little informal, so typically you're going to avoid those in academic writing. Oh my goodness, it's another free bonus note. The World Health Organization, now this is a common one. Is the abbreviation for the World Health Organization an initialism or an acronym? Well, the WHO will be treated as an initialism. Otherwise, it'll sound like you're asking a question instead of making a claim. Who reported that COVID is a serious problem? Question mark or period, right? Now, if you do that, what's going to happen is your conference proceeding is going to sound like an Abbott and Costello routine instead of an academic work. So you definitely want to make sure that you treat the WHO as an initialism. Questions? If you have any questions about initialisms, acronyms, or abbreviations, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my very best to get to them as soon as possible. I hope this presentation was informative, and until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.